Unit 6, Section 1, Types and Characteristics of Quadrilaterals. All right, we have a lot of notes for this because we are basically identifying and explaining the characteristics of each of these quadrilaterals. So let's start with polygon. Polygon is any shape with at least 3 straight sides and at least 3 angles. All right, so all of these are polygons, but we're getting a little bit more specific. We are talking about quadrilaterals. So a polygon with 4 sides is a quadrilateral. As you can see, if a polygon has 3 sides, it's going to be a triangle. We're not working with triangles now. We did that before. Now we're going on to quadrilaterals. A parallelogram is a quadrilateral where both sets of opposite sides are parallel and equal. So both sets, that means across from each other, they're parallel and they're equal. A rhombus is a quadrilateral with 4 straight sides. Opposite sides are parallel and equal in length, which means it's also a parallelogram. A rectangle is a parallelogram with 4 90-degree angles. Opposite sides are equal and parallel, just as we said a parallelogram was. A square is a quadrilateral where all 4 sides are equal in length. All 4 angles are 90 degrees. We have a kite, which is a quadrilateral that has 2 pairs of same length sides, and these sides are adjacent to each other. They're not parallel, they're adjacent. Remember, adjacent means next to. And then a trapezoid is a 4-sided shape with only 1 set of sides that are parallel. So let's look at a visual for this. All right, so looking at this visual, we can see that there's sort of an umbrella here. This is the umbrella of quadrilaterals. These are all quadrilaterals. But if you look at this part, a parallelogram includes a rhombus, a rectangle, and a square. A kite and a rhombus are connected. You can see that there's a possibility for a rhombus to be a kite. They're connected in the way that they both have the 4 sides and they don't have the 90-degree angles. Then over here, you've got your trapezoid and your isosceles trapezoid. We're not really going to work with the isosceles trapezoid yet, but you can imagine what that is because you know what an isosceles triangle is. It just means that these 2 sides are equal. So a trapezoid does not have the right angles, it does not have the equal sides, and it only has 1 set. This is how you show parallel, but it only has 1 set of parallel sides. All right, so let's take a look. You're going to be asked to state the most specific name for each figure. So meaning you're not going to say quadrilateral because we know they're all quadrilaterals. That's not specific. You're also not going to say parallelogram if you can be more specific than that. So let's look at number 1. Looking at number 1, we see that all the sides are equal. That means it's either a square or a rhombus. It is not a square because I look at the angles and I realize they are not all 90 degrees. So we have a rhombus as our answer here. All right, looking at number 2, we do not have the sides equal. The opposite sides are equal. That makes me think it could be a rectangle, except that when I look at the angles, it is not a rectangle because they would need to be 90 degrees. So what is the most specific for this? It's going to be a parallelogram. And excuse my sloppy writing, but parallelogram is the answer for that one. Ooh, looking at 3, I don't think we have to work too hard. This is a square because it has all the sides equal and it has 4 90-degree angles. All right. Good here to see the visual between a rhombus and a square. You see the difference. Rhombus is usually going to be sort of slanted. The angles will not be 90 degrees. All right, so this has 4 sides. None of these sides are equal. Not really seeing necessarily any parallel lines. I see all the angles are different. So this is going to be a quadrilateral. We can't call it a parallelogram because we don't see any parallel sides. So this is a quadrilateral. Okay, that's an A. So quadrilateral, that's an A. Quadrilateral, okay. So which properties are common for all 4 shapes? Well, we've kind of talked a little bit about that. In a rectangle, you will have all of the properties of a parallelogram. Additionally, you will have 4 diagonals and 4 straight sides. A rectangle is a parallelogram but with extra pieces. All right, in a rhombus, you have all the properties of a kite, but additionally, you then have 2 diagonals and 4 equal sides. Okay, so we're adding that. In kites, you don't have that. You can't draw a diagonal in a kite because it won't equally cross, but you can draw that in a rhombus. I do need to fix number 2. We are not looking at 4 diagonals. You have all the properties of a rhombus. Additionally, you have 4 right angles and 4 equal sides. So you see how this is, each time we're getting a little more specific. So now with a square, there have to be 4 right angles and 4 equal sides. The difference between a square and a rhombus is that the angles of a rhombus won't be right angles, but it will have 4 equal sides. So as we looked earlier, the rhombus and the square are very similar, but there are some differences. The rhombus is not going to have right angles. And finally, the difference between a square and a rectangle is that a square will have 4 congruent sides and a rectangle won't have 4 congruent sides. There will only be 2 sets. So it's really good to think of these with the contrasts and then as well as the similarities. All right, so you have an exit ticket. Go ahead and define these and then do your matching below with each of the different quadrilaterals and their characteristics. Good luck.